Welcome to Conversations with Convesio. My name is Lee, and today we have the one and only Yan from Yan&Co. Yan, mate, how are you today?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good today. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Well, I would love to learn a little bit more about your agency. Could you let us know something about Yan&Co and what you guys specialize in?
Yeah, sure. So we're a WooCommerce and WordPress web agency. We specialize mostly in custom built solutions, a lot of e-commerce sites and special integration sites. So we're quite nerdy, but I
Yeah.
think our key factor is that we speak human. So we tend to be able to explain like very technically complex topics to our clients, even though our clients don't have technical background.
Yeah. Well, that's a really important skill, isn't it? You and I can talk about
Sure. Yeah.
APIs, integration, etc., but that's
That is
going
true.
to be completely nothing to a client.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can say that this will connect to that and this will happen, that makes all of the difference.
Oh, yeah, and also being able to translate it into something they understand and have a frame of reference to be able to understand what's actually going on.
Absolutely. Now, you've been working with Convesio for a while now, and I'd love to find out what were the key factors you considered when choosing Convesio to partner with?
So the two key factors that was the main drivers for us was first of all performance and scalability. We had been looking around at a lot of enterprise hosting partners,
Mhm.
and we simply could not find someone who had the scalability that we wanted for our clients,
Mhm.
especially our e-commerce clients. And we couldn't find someone who had the same support as Convesio has. The main factor around the support is both that they're very, very competent and they're very kind and friendly as well. And you're not met by some sort of email ticketing system. I
Mm.
mean, email ticketing system can be just fine in normal circumstances, but when you have large e-commerce sites, it's really important that whenever you write something, you don't feel like your email or your request is landing in a void, and you like sort of has somebody receive this. You actually have somebody in a Slack channel responding to it and say, "We're looking into this." And you're like, "Okay, great. So this is actually being worked on right now." And also just being able to have a dialogue and having being able to share examples and being able to share code. This is really important to us.
As an agency owner myself, I recognize the importance of being able to partner with a good host like that, especially like you said, having a conversation in Slack or sharing code,
Yeah.
going way further than you would with, say, a more generic host. Because you and I, we are customer facing, aren't we? Our
Yes.
e-commerce clients are going to be looking to us to support their websites, to keep things going, etc. And we need to know that we've got a host who has our back. And that's it's one thing that always scares me when choosing a new hosting provider. What key services do you use with Convesio? And can you share maybe a project example of where the hosting solution's been instrumental in exceeding client expectations?
I say the key things from Convesio is, in technical terms, again, is the scalability and being able to scale e-commerce sites, especially because we have like a various e-commerce sites with a lot of traffic. Especially, we have one of Denmark's largest catering companies. When they send out email campaigns, they send out email campaigns anywhere between 50,000 and 80,000 subscribers. That means when they send out a campaign, they get not 100 visitors, they get tens of thousands of visitors that all come at the same time. So it's quite instrumental that the hosting can actually scale to this, because it would be a very rapid uh, scaling. As well as we also have a luxury skin product brand, and they do live events where they do live sales events on Facebook. And when they do that, they also have a lot of customers coming in, and it requires a lot of scalability to do that. A third example would be we have a web shop that sells items for plumbers, and so all of
Hmm.
these items for doing your own bath and doing your own sinks and plumbing and everything.
Mm.
And they require to pull in a lot of data from a lot of sources. So they are integrating all of these data sources and doing live updates and prices and doing it very rapidly. So that requires a lot of resources to do that all of the time. And while that doesn't really require a scalability spike, it requires steady resources to be able to handle all of this. And it's been very instrumental to us, especially having this chat with the Convesio, the Slack support, because we're very technical. So we're usually, when we contact the support, we've already tried the 9 out of 10 solutions and come to terms with, okay, so this is really something that's probably something we need more intel on in having to look for what's actually going on the server, which processes are consuming resources. And Convesio is very great at this. So we won't have to go through all the hoops to get a supporter who's actually also very nerdy and knows all of this stuff and could go right to the case. And that helps not only us, but also our clients.
Do you have any examples of a time maybe when you've brought a problem, when you've tried all of those 9 out of 10 solutions? Do you have any examples of where Convesio have been able to step in and support?
Yes. So one of the places is especially is in terms of this luxury skin brand. They with one of their first live events before we switched to Convesio, they were pulling in a lot of customers from the live chat. And the thing is that when you have not live chat, the live event, so you'll have the main figure speaking about how these products will help your skin and everything. But then when this person then says buy, you will have hundreds and you will also have thousands of people adding things to the cart right away. Yeah. Oh, wow. And that of course puts a lot of load on the server. Goes without saying almost, but we were facing we were still facing some problems in terms of having some slow loading times in the cart. And speaking with Convesio and their engineers, we were actually able to narrow down where the problem was. And the problem was actually not Convesio, it wasn't our code. It was that someone had installed an external service which was adding all of these products to the cart instead of using the native WooCommerce functions. Yes. And we tested, and actually in this example, when they used the external service, it took anywhere between 15 and 30 seconds to go to the checkout, which is an astronomical time. Yes. Using the WooCommerce native function, it took anywhere between 2 to 3 seconds, which can sound like a lot, but given the context that there are thousands of concurrent users, it's actually not a lot, and it's not something that will stop people going through the cart. And using this information that we gathered in collaboration with Convesio, we could then return to this external provider and have a dialogue with them so that they could improve their service. So it's really like an all-around improvement for everyone. So basically a win-win-win scenario. And we couldn't have done that without somebody being able to look into what processes were running on the server, which lines of code were actually consuming a lot of CPU.
And to me, that's a host that goes above and beyond there, because normally with other hosting providers, when I've had these sorts of problems, they will simply point me to articles online or to their knowledge base, or they will say, have you tried disabling plugins? And all of the typical key answers. And the people that I tend to speak with are not really technologically savvy. So that is the difference. You can jump into Slack, you can have Convesio look at lines of code and obviously point out some of the issues. When you said it was a problem with I thought you were going to say it was a problem with your code. For me, it's usually a problem with my code. Thankfully, in your case, it was an external service. But for me, it's usually me making a really ridiculous error, and I'm having something looping over and over again, or just really inefficient.
Yeah, no. Well, we also make mistakes every now and then. It's
feel better now.
We're just human. but in this case, fortunately it wasn't. But we've had other cases where Convesio, they also, one of the things is they're very proactive. Not just putting that label proactive on, because that really, what does that entitle? But what they do is also from time to time, we'll get contacted by them and say, hey, we're getting a lot of then they'll paste something from the error log or something from a monitor log, getting a lot of these in the logs. Could you check into it? And maybe it was a plugin that was updated that then caused another error to occur somewhere. But really something that we might have not discovered if it hadn't been somebody alerting us, because very few people are monitoring the error logs. Actually, I've never come across a host that monitors the error logs ever, except from now.
Well, in most cases, it's usually our responsibility, isn't it, as the agency? So it's lovely again to have someone who's got your back, as it
Yeah,
were. Yeah.
and of course, like we also maintain a lot of sites, and we also do monitor error logs. But for most of the times, we will monitor them when we update the sites, and then we'll follow it. But then something could be happening in between, because there's a lot of spinning wheels that are turning in a web solution, and somebody might have installed something, somebody might have changed the line of code and not really just noticed the error log. It's I mean, that happens for everyone. And then having somebody who's actually actively monitoring and say, "Hey, something's going on here. You should look into this." That's phenomenal. It's like above and beyond what you could expect from a hosting agency, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how has partnering with Convesio impacted your approach to future e-commerce projects?
Yeah. So before we actually decided to move all of our hosting. We used to have all of our hosting with the clients on various hosting providers, and we at one point realized that, well, most of the time the problem was the hosting. It wasn't the code. It wasn't. It was simply just a matter of resources being too restricted on the hosting environments that they were in. So we have our own dedicated server where we started having moving all our projects over. But we soon realized that when we have these large e-commerce sites with a lot of traffic, we're simply not geared to having high traffic e-commerce sites. And this means now we can actually look at Convesio and say, okay, so we actually have a partner where we can put all of our really high demand, high traffic e-commerce sites over, and they will be handled by specialists in this. Because we may be very good at doing regular web shops, but we're not great at the hosting with high traffic e-commerce sites. That's what Convesio is great at. So now we have a partner that actually handles that for us.
So that's significantly reducing kind of your support overhead, especially when you're dealing with clients' hosts rather than dealing with your own, now that you've partnered with Convesio. And it sounds like as well, it's giving you the confidence to approach even bigger clients, bigger contracts, bigger e-commerce projects, because you've got Convesio behind you.
Yes, exactly. So now we don't have to fear that running out of resources. We don't have to run the risk of the clients suddenly doing some big event that crashes the server. All of these kind of things that is normal for like a small host would be normal fears. Like what happens when you drive 50,000 concurrent users to a site? That might not be so great for a lot of servers, but here we don't have the same fear, because we know it's being taken care of. And also, one of the great things is that we do a lot of collaboration with our clients and make sure that they tell us upfront whenever a big thing is going to happen, and then relay the information to Convesio. And they actually put an engineer sitting there monitoring the event for when it's going to happen. I mean, that's just phenomenal.
It is. I mean, my clients are very, very guilty of sending out email campaigns and then emailing me to tell me that the website's down. Obviously, I don't have that problem anymore with Convesio, but in the past, it's certainly been something, I'll have gone for. Because initially, I mean, as an agency, I wasn't really educated on all of this. So I would just go to my local hosting company. There's plenty here in the UK where I'm based. And I would just go for the starter pack or the business pack because it sounded reasonable. And I'd built a business-based website. So I thought nothing of it. And I would host the websites for the clients. And I'd always scratch my head as to why, when there were email campaigns, why things would just crash, even though I'd bought the biggest package that was available with all of the RAM and all of the CPU. But obviously there is so much more involved. And I think, as you found out as well, especially with things like auto scaling and PHP workers and all of the other stuff that Convesio are doing behind the scenes to actually keep something alive, it certainly is a great experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's when you're an agency owner and you first start out hosting client websites. At one point, you quickly learn to read the fine print. and say, okay, so how many resources is actually available? Because a
Yeah.
business solution or enterprise solution might sound great on paper, but there's always fine print somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love about Convesio is that there's actually no fine print. You speak
Mm.
with them and you explain what's going on, and you explain to them, so how much traffic are we going to expect, and what are the edge cases, and they will configure the environment for that.
Mm.
And I think that's just that takes away so much friction and so much also frustration, because when these kind of things happen, I mean, you get frustrated, the clients get frustrated, everybody gets frustrated, because
Yeah.
everybody just wants to work, but this way we just reduce the risk of that happening.
So, for other agencies who are currently deciding on a hosting partner to choose or to collaborate with, what sort of things should they be looking for in their provider?
I think one of the things that they should be looking for is actually stress testing their
Mm.
solution and seeing if it will bend under pressure. That's one of the great things about the Convesio that I experienced the first ever time I was in contact with them, and I explained them about one of the sites. They said, "Well, we can promise you anything by in this conversation, but really the only way to show you is to demonstrate it. So
Mm.
can we get a copy and put it on one of our servers, and then we'll put it on a load?"
Mhm.
And I said, okay, sure, but what's that going to cost? And they said, nothing. We're just going to do it for you. I mean, that was an instant sell to me. It was like no risk. So we took a copy of the solution, put it on one of their servers, and we monitored everything and put it under stress load. I even ran the test myself with 5,000 concurrent users, and it just ran purred like a kitten. It's and that was an easy sell, and
Yeah.
it showed that they took it seriously, and they really wanted to help. It wasn't just some salesy website that said, "Oh, we can handle anything." It was like, well, it was let's talk more doing, and
Mm.
let's demonstrate it to you.
That's
So
amazing,
that's one
isn't
of
it?
the things. I mean, contact your hosting provider and ask them to put your site under a load test, see how it performs. And
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, the hosting provider will say, "Well, it's your site is the problem. So the problem is on your computer. It's on your solution.
Mm.
Instead of owning up and saying, okay, so well, there's a website. What can we do? What can we do to improve the performance here?" And that's actually
Mm.
what the Convesio say. They're never pointing the finger away from themselves. They're saying, "What can we do?"
Yeah.
Owning up to the like the responsibility as a hosting provider and an e-commerce provider, and collaborating with the agencies. That's one of the largest things that sets them apart from everyone else I've experienced. I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years now, so
Really? You don't
yeah.
look old enough.
Really. Why, thank you.
No, that's okay. I mean, I can think of one experience as well where during like a Black Friday event specifically, Convesio were able
Oh
to spot
yes.
that there was a specific plugin in one of my colleagues' websites that was actually adding a little bit of weight to the WordPress installation that just wasn't needed during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that just wasn't needed during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It was a back end tool, so they were able to just disable that during that time. And again, that's something else that wouldn't have been found had Convesio not done, like you said,
Yeah.
some load testing on that website and actually worked out what were causing some of the key issues, not just their own platform, but equally with the actual build itself. So for you then, as we come into land, mate, what's the one thing for you that sets Convesio apart from every other host?
I would say the support and their ability to be proactive, actively monitoring the websites. It's the one thing I haven't found any comparison to. I mean, doing this for 11 years, I've seen a lot of hosts, I've seen a lot of support, and I've never seen anything that even remotely compares to this. It's they're completely out of any league I've seen before.
So, Yan, thank you so much for your time. This has been really eye opening. And I love the stories that you've shared and love the fact that you now have much more confidence to approach those bigger projects, and that you have a partner that really has your back, that's proactive, that provides you support at a technical level that you really need. So thank you so much for your time. If you are watching this on YouTube, then there will be a link below for you to click and check out the latest offers from Convesio. You can also connect with Convesio and ask them about those load tests that Yan mentioned. Yan, thank you so much for your time, buddy. Have a wonderful day. Cheerio.
Thank you. Cheerio.